Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews and connections in mind, and welcome back to another installment in my reaction series to each and every episode of the 7th and final season of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, if you've never seen any of my other reaction episodes until this point, this is just my short form reaction series where I give a brief overview of this night's episode as soon as it comes out, as soon as I watch it, give some thoughts as to what I thought worked, what I thought didn't work, as well as some analysis as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, just to get this out of the way, this will be a full spoiler review going from this point forward. So if you've not seen the latest episode of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I suggest stopping the video at this point and coming back when you have, because this will be full spoilers from here on out. So with that being said, and without further ado, let's get into Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, Episode 4, entitled Out of the Past, in which we find the S.H.I.E.L.D. team still in the year 1955, where they're following the exploits of Agent Daniel Sousa, as the history books say that he is picking up a package for Howard Stark, delivering it to a hotel where he will meet his untimely demise, and will reportedly serve as inspiration for future S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, including the Agent Coulson, as well as the package that he delivers is the grandfather of many S.H.I.E.L.D. technologies that they will develop over the coming decades. So now the S.H.I.E.L.D. team from the future is tasked with the responsibility of making sure the delivery goes ahead as scheduled, making sure history records Sousa's death, but there's a change in plans when Mac decides to alter history slightly, where all of that still goes according to plan, but they in fact save Daniel Sousa from his fate, and they take him aboard the Zephyr in order to save him from his fate. And Coulson steps into his jacket and hat and cane and acts the part so that when the killers finally do show up, they kill what they believe to be who they believe to be Sousa, and then history will play out as it did in the history books, minus the fact that the actual Daniel Sousa is in fact alive. Also of note happening in this episode is the fact that Deke is kidnapped by a pair of Hydra agents, as it turns out, and it turns out they take Deke to their boss, the aka Wilfred Malik, who they last encountered in 1931 in the previous episodes of the season, where he and Deke were at least not quite friends, but at least bonded in 1931. So after 24 years after the fact, Deke comes face to face with who Malik became, being initially disbelieving as to the stories that the other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were telling him, that Malik would become a monster, the mastermind of Hydra. Now he becomes face to face with that reality, and he faces some bitter truths on that fact. And also, the other notable development in this episode is that it was revealed last week's episode that Agent May, who has previously been quite emotionless and detached from events, it seemed. Last week we saw her have a panic attack out of the blue, which was very out of character for Agent May, but then is revealed that for some reason, due to her exposure to the alien alternate dimension from the previous season, when she was stabbed through the chest and died, and she goes to a dimension where they apparently have no feeling at all, either emotionally or physically, that has affected her in a way where she doesn't feel any emotions herself, but she feeds off of the emotion. She feels the emotions of others around her, such as Simmons' anxiety, Sousa's confusion. She couldn't feel anything from Coulson because he's an LMD. These things will no doubt come into play in episodes to come, but this is where they find that out. Interesting to see how exactly that develops going forward. And this episode sees the team jump through time once again. And the preview for next week's episode seems to indicate that they're sometime in the 1970s. So it looks like we're going to be jumping approximately 20 years with each pair of episodes. Who knows? They may change that up in future episodes, but that's what it is thus far. What I thought worked about this episode, I thought the choice to make this episode almost entirely in black and white was a very bold choice. It's very evocative. As I said in last week's episode, they're kind of shaking up genres of the episodes as they go forward, depending on the time era of it. Where in the 30s it was like a gangster film, and last week's episode was a Cold War spy film of the 50s. This is very evocative of the film noir style of film, especially a detective film noir of the late 40s, early 50s, considered the golden era of film noir. And I thought that was a very bold choice. I thought it was a very effective choice for the story material, because I feel like when you film something in black and white, especially when you have access to color film, there's a specific artistic choice when you do that, and it's the way I see it is when by removing the colors aside from black and white and shades of gray, you're focusing less on the background and the visual elements of things and more on the character development, which there was plenty of, at least in this episode, as far as the dilemma of the team, whether save Sousa or not, being able to soak up emotions from various characters, such as the fact that I thought Enoch being stuck at a bar for probably 20 years and feeling very dejected that now that he's in contact with the team again, all they want him to do is be an answering service and or like a switchboard operator and just connect them from payphones to the Zephyr through his own system, and he feels very he's now, because there's alone in the universe. I thought that was pretty funny and very effective, I thought. But this whole thing is very the film noir, and as far as things that you may have seen before, as far as film noir, I gotta say this is kind of a blind spot for me. As far as I'm not very familiar with, I haven't really seen any of period film noir, very like late 40s, early 50s. That's kind of a blind spot for me. I need to see more older films, but a more modern example, slightly more modern than that, I should say, of the film noir style that you may or may not have seen is the theatrical cut of the original Blade Runner, in which that was shot as in a film noir style, even though it wasn't black and white. And with especially with Harrison Ford dubbing over narrating a lot of his scenes as a film noir detective, like his thought process as the inner monologue of his character Deckard as he's going through his investigation of the replicants. That was removed from all subsequent cuts. The director's cut, the final cut of the original Blade Runner, but the theatrical cut, where they still has that Harrison Ford narration intact, that's very typical of the film noir style of the period, and that's similar to what they're doing in this episode. Or if you're more familiar with it in comic strip form, you may be familiar with Tracer Bullet, one of the personas in Calvin and Hobbes that Calvin plays, his detective persona. That's a film noir style character that he plays in that comic strip. Also, the imagery of Sousa, aka Coulson, in the pool, lying dead in the pool through that, I thought that was evocative of the opening of Sunset Boulevard, a fairly famous LA film on that regard. So those are just some imagery things that may seem familiar. Also, for what I thought, I mean, it worked fine in the episode, but I don't know. I thought the near the end of the episode where the running diagnostics revealed that the whole shtick of Coulson being the inner monologue in the film noir was just a glitch of his program, and then she turns the switch and recalibrates, so everything comes back to color, and he says, "Oh nope, inner monologue gone." It's like, really, that felt a little. I mean, just own it as a TV show. That, I don't know, that didn't quite sit right with me. I thought that it would have been a little more fun if they just let it be as in the episode and then just let it move on and just transition out of it rather than make it as a thing in the actual in universe character thing. I don't know. That may just be me. You may have a different opinion of it. I thought that didn't quite sit well with as well as me. I mean, it's fine, I guess. It doesn't hurt anything, but I don't know. I didn't think that felt quite right. But I am curious to see how they proceed going forward into the 1970s. How they'll maybe integrate different 70s era film tropes there, maybe big car chase scenes. Maybe it'll be like an old exploitation film genre in certain elements. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see that going forward. Overall, I thought this episode was a good wrap-up of the two-part, the 250s era Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episodes of this season. But what did you think of this week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did I miss something in my analysis? I probably missed something. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. If you liked anything on my channel, be it this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, a share, and especially subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to tune in next week for my reaction to next week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as well as we're starting to get some more concrete dates for things opening up again, posts in the safer at home or reopening phase of this coronavirus thing, and theaters are going to start opening up in July, and we've moved the time for Tenet to be July 31st, I believe. So that's still scheduled to be my my next new movie review in quite a while, so be sure to look for that. Fingers crossed that we actually keep that date, but also that we all are able to go to the movies safely. That's obviously a much more important issue. Again, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best, but just remember, there is nothing new under the sun, and yes, you have seen it before.